Would you agree that Nick Sirianni's not just coaching for his job, he's coaching for his NFL life this coming season? He's not just coaching for his ability to stay as a head coach, but I think he's also coaching for opportunities down the line of whether or not he's going to be a coach that will get another opportunity. Remember something, white coaches get opportunities again, especially ones that have had some type of success. And sometimes even ones with no success like Josh McDaniels. So to me, he's coaching for his NFL life. Okay? He's got to show this year that he has a problem solver. Okay? That he's a problem solver here. And he's got to show everyone this year that he could take that team and right the ship, unlike what happened at the end of the Doug Peterson. You know, someone asked me this last night. They're like this, Sills, can he turn this around? And it's a great question. I don't think he can, because here's the most important. Do we not agree? Wait, here. Do you think Nick can turn this around? And I answer this to you. Does he have control of turning it around? Does he have control of it? And by meaning the situation. Does he have control of the situation? I don't think he does. I mean, I don't think he has control of it. Boy, man, that Britton Covey comments are so detrimental today. They absolutely accentuate every single thing that people thought about the team, about the way the team was run. My God. When I went and I listened to him 3 or 4 times, and I listened to that conversation, and Barb goes, why are we wasting time with Sirianni? He's not in control. He's a yes man. Barb, what are you talking about? Why are you wasting your time talking about Nick? Because Nick's your centerpiece head coach. My goodness, you've got an incompetent head coach running your football team. And the Eagles won't answer why they brought him back. Because they have confidence in him? Do these recent hires and assistant coaches show any confidence? The comments by Britton Covey, does that show confidence? What are they talking about? Senor asks a great question. Why did you not say anything about Bill Belichick being fired? Well, at the end of the day, Bill Belichick doesn't need anybody to say anything about him. Because at the end of the day, senor, when Bill Belichick's name is brought up at the Hall of Fame conversation, someone's going to stand up and go, Bill Belichick, and sit down. And personally, Bill Belichick was offered the Atlanta job, and he didn't think it was in the best interest to take the job. Mike Florio now is also reporting that. Not just Boomer Esiason. He was offered the job. He said, nah, that's all right. Because he's got 3 years of Bob Kraft money still rolling in at $18 million or $20 million, whatever it is. Bill doesn't need that. I mean, Bill Belichick, Nick Sirianni. Why would you even bring Bill Belichick's name up? You don't have to have a conversation about Bill Belichick in anything. He's the greatest football coach in the history of the National Football League, and he worked it during the salary cap era. He developed the greatest quarterback of all time, and let's not forget one other thing. He also developed the greatest defensive football player of all time, Lawrence Taylor. You actually think there's any coincidence to that? Do you think there's any coincidence that Belichick developed the two greatest players on both sides of the football? You think there's any coincidence in that? None of Bill's coaches have had success. So, Tony Dungy's won one Super Bowl, and he's had really good coaches' success. Bill Belichick's not hiring coaches to go become successful coaches somewhere else as head coaches. When you're hired by a head coach like Bill Belichick, you're hired to be the offensive coordinator, not a future NFL head coach. When you're hired as the wide receiver coach in New England, you're hired as the wide receiver coach. If you happen to get an opportunity to become a head coach, that's a you thing. It has no bearing on his tree of who's had success and who's not had success. Who cares? Here, I'll make this point to you then. Has Bill Parcells ever won a Super Bowl without Bill Belichick being his defensive coordinator? No. So is Parcells? Does he have to be in a relationship with Belichick to win Super Bowls? Sure seems it. Belichick didn't win a Super Bowl with him on his coaching staff. Just saying. I mean, you want to play that game. What's Parcells? What's Parcells without Belichick? Nothing. Okay? He's nothing here. That's what I say. Hey, by the way, and I've heard the guys before me talking about this, about Howie being involved in all this as well. And I'll say this to you guys. There's no question that, in my opinion, this year, that there has to be some sort of conversation, if you're Jeffrey Lurie, where you have to do this now. You have got to redefine Howie Roseman's job title when it comes to his significance in the draft. He can't run the draft. I don't know why they still going down that line. Why can't they departmentalize that and take the draft away from him, where someone is more, and name him the president of the team of operations? That's fine, where he has say, but he cannot have say in the draft. You have got to hire a college director of personnel that knows what he's doing. This guy does not. Do you understand? Get this. Do we not agree? Howie Roseman would be a better general manager if they hit more. How about this? 5% more on their draft picks is all they need. And do you know the financial latitude they'll get if they hit just on 5% more of their high-end picks? He would be the best general manager, and I think that would result in a Super Bowl. If you're the owner, why wouldn't you want to help him instead of allowing him to keep going down that rabbit hole? Well, if we can't draft him, we'll just throw money at it. That's not how you sustain Jeff Kerr again. That's not how you sustain winning football. Okay? What makes you think it's Howie and not the analytics department? Howie oversees all of it. Dude, Howie Roseman runs everything. Would you hire Pete Carroll as a college evaluator? Pete Carroll's not taking that job, but I like where you're going. That's right, Barb. The small difference between winning and losing. You know that conversation we had yesterday about Patrick Surtain? Some of you don't follow along and understand it. That's okay, because, you look at everything from the macro instead of the micro and how you're supposed to build a football team. And some of you don't get it, but that's okay. 3 things have to line up: money, performance, and rookie contract. It's not just about missing on a player. I tried explaining that for the last 3 years, and some of you just don't get it. Like the Nolan Smith pick. How about this? Let's do the Nakobe Dean pick. How detrimental do you think the Nakobe Dean pick is going to be? How much of a detrimental pick do you think that'll be? Let's just, and then I'll use the Nolan Smith one. Those 2 picks, how much? Let's do them both together. Nakobe Dean and Nolan Smith. How detrimental will those picks be if those 2 guys don't pan out? How much do you think that will hurt the team? Sometimes you got to lose a battle to win a war. That's right. I agree. Here's how that works. Okay? Howie has all the Infinity Stones. Callie Green. Again, I think you're just one of those dudes that just likes to see the world burn because you make no sense. There's no reasoning with you or having conversation with you sometimes, because most of the time you're just one of those dudes, just like Alfred says in Batman. You just like to see the world burn because you don't get it. So there's no really having a conversation with you on that. Okay? You'll just talk shit no matter what it is to defend your guy. And there's no real conversation with you. So I'm really not going to go there with it. Okay, kid? You just like to see the world burn down. You just a guy who doesn't care what reasoning is. Okay? Here's why the Nolan Smith and Nakobe Dean deal, okay, is going to be detrimental. It's a 3rd-round pick, right? Fred Warner's a 3rd-round pick. Look what Fred Warner gave the 49ers. Okay? Look at what Fred Warner gave. That's a great win there too, Gabe. Look at what Brian Branch gives the Lions at safety for the next 3 years with an option in money, production, playing on a playoff team. With Nakobe Dean, you started him. You're finding out he's not really going to be the guy. Kind of, you're leaning that way now. Okay? You're going to lose the pick. You got to go find a linebacker in free agency. Let me show you this. Hey, Tone, am I right when I say this? So last year they spent money on Nicholas Morrow. Not a lot. They spent money on Shaq Leonard. Who else did they bring in? So you spent money on those 2 dudes. What's the other guy? Zach Cunningham. Okay. About $7 million for the whole 3 of them. About $7 million. Okay. Does that sound about right? About $7 million? Does Bradbury counts since it was a re-signing? No, I'm just talking about the backers. About $7 million, would you say for Morrow they paid? Morrow, Shaq Leonard, and with Zach Cunningham. With salaries and all. Would that be right, Tone? Does that sound about right? $7 million? Okay, so you spent $7 million. The guy that you let loose was making got a $7 million or $6.5 million offer from Chicago. Okay. So a productive dude who was like 3rd in tackles in the NFL last year, and you had a guy in a draft pick in Nakobe Dean who didn't play for you. So you threw $7 extra million to try to cover one linebacker spot at Mike. Now, I know Zach played outside too, and they moved Barrett, but they all had a shot at the title at Mike. So you paid $7 million in linebackers to try to cover for your mistake of Nakobe Dean. You lose the pick, you lose the player's performance, and you're throwing money. You're going to have to spend another $14 million or $7 million, which is going to come to $14 million in 2 years for a player you drafted in the third round, who you could have been paying on a rookie contract, who you drafted in the third round at $1.5 million. That's how you lose it. I mean, think of that. So the money you're going to spend in the last 2 years, you're going to have to spend another $14 million at linebacker. You're going to spend another $30 million potentially at corner. And these are guys that you could have drafted. That's almost $50 million. How are you building a team when you keep missing like that? Doesn't make sense. Look at the job John Lynch has done. Hey, my opinion, John Lynch is a better GM than Howie Roseman. You know why? He's a better drafter and he's better with the cap. Sills, he missed on Trey Lance. Agreed. But look at his roster. His roster's not going away. And they're still under the cap with all that money. They'll restructure contracts. They'll probably go to Boza, restructure it. Purdy's not making any money. And they're going to continue to draft well. They draft well. Okay? Brock Purdy, get this. The 3 first-round picks that San Francisco lost in that Trey Lance deal, okay, catastrophic. But the money they save for the next 3 years is worth the loss of the 3 ones. I'd rather lose the 3 ones than have to pay $150 million in salary. Wouldn't you? How are you paying for Boza and Debo and Christian McCaffrey? Do you understand that what you do when you hit on your picks, the chances of you keeping Debo and Christian McCaffrey, it's extended. Look at the Cowboys. The Cowboys are $14 million. This may be a little bit over your head. Like somebody like Callie Green, this is probably way over his head, because he's used to playing Monopoly and shit. So this stuff is way over his head. So I don't want to get too psycho here because I know that sometimes when we're talking numbers, we got to talk like in pennies and we got to carry the 2. And I know algebra is probably not a strong suit of yours, dude. If you subtract Reddick and Nolan Smith, the entire Eagles linebacker room cost the Eagles $4.9 million against the cap. They are so cheap, it's insulting to us fans. In 23, you spent $5 million on garbage. Okay? You spent $5 million on garbage that got you killed. Okay? Dude, no, kid. It's not about being a capologist. Here, let me hook you up, Callie. Let me hook you up. It's called adding and subtracting. Adding, and subtracting. Very simple. Oh, maybe for some. Yeah, I don't want to bend you over there like that a little bit, but not sure, homeschooling, Callie. I don't know, man. You might want to ask your cousin who was teaching you or something. Homeschooling sometimes is not the best thing when you're using pixie sticks to kind of get through your adding and subtracting. Okay? Homeschooling, kid. I don't know. So, just trying to help you. By the way, calculator. Capologist is overrated. Every team gets some cap. It's Iron Man. I think that thing that the Eagles have done with Jalen Hurts' contract is brilliant. Okay? Yeah, because Howie has cap problems every year. No. Yes, he does. See right here? Callie Green is going like this because he's being facetious. He does. He's got cap problems every year. Every year he has massive cap problems. He does. You know why? Look at your defense. Garbage safeties, garbage linebackers, and rent a corner. Spend no money on that. You know, that's a really good exercise that I'm going to do. I wonder how much money they spend in salaries on defense compared to how much they spend on offense. I like that. 50 million quarterback. I'm just doing salaries, not cap hits. 25 receiver, that's 75. How much you think Devontae makes? $1 million, that's 76. Tight end makes 12. That's 80. That's 88. Left tackle makes 12. That's 110. Right tackle makes 16. That's 126. The center makes 10. That's 136. Left guard makes 4. That's 140. Running back probably makes $1 million, $2 million, 142. So you basically have about $145 million of your $224 million salary cap last year. $142 million is on one side of the ball. Well, can't do that because Jalen didn't make that money last year. So this year, we'll go to 242 cap. You got $100 million on the other side of the football. It seems. That's not counting your backups on offense either. Probably have $150 million lined up on your offense. Very simple, dude. You spend no money on defense. I mean, the highest paid guys are Fletcher, corners, and Reddick. And Sweat. And Sweat. Damn. Yeah, it toned the chat's out, so I can't get that number that you posted down there. So I'd like to know what you said there. When it comes to annual salaries in 23, the Eagles spent $172 million on offense, $121.2 on defense. That's a $51 million difference. And that's before you pay the quarterback. Next year, that number changes in salaries now. Again, not talking cap hits. That number goes and changes big time. You could do a lot with $51 million. Yeah, you could have re-signed. You could have re-signed your linebacker, and you could have re-signed C.J. Gardner.